On today's episode of Kilts and Culture with USA Kilts, we try MacLaughlin's Distillery $37.99 Bourbon Whiskey.
Mm-hmm. That's actually the year it was made.
It's from the future.
The history of the Gallic lands is one of struggle, punctuated by moments of sheer brilliance.
Tartan is Scotland's gift to the world, and it is your personal heritage story.
Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome to Kilts and Culture. I'm Rocky. That's Erik.
Aho.
Today, special treat. We have from our good friend Ed Rogers, the MacLaughlin Distillery $37.99 Bourbon Whiskey. So, indeed.
Made in Pennsylvania.
Yes, Swaddling, or however you say it. It's out by Pittsburgh, apparently.
This is the official whiskey of the Philadelphia... No, it's not.
No, not at all. I don't know if it's the official whiskey of anything outside of their MacLaughlin Distillery.
It's the official whiskey of MacLaughlin Distillery.
Yes, indeed. Ian, so you have any... well, first, I guess we should come collect your glass. We also have Ian as our MC today, who's going to be coming around here.
Let's bring him out, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for him.
Let's hear it for our friend
Ladies and
Ian.
gentlemen, Ian Anderson.
Yes.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
There you go.
Ooh, look at you. You're all
Doing,
fancy in that.
Tartans while we're over here.
Yep, what
what
tartan
we
you have
usually
on
do.
today?
Got the Nordic Heritage Weathered Tweed Great Kilt.
Nordic Heritage Tweed, weathered tweed, great kilt. Very nice.
Say
very
that
nice.
5 times fast.
Indeed, I will not. Erik, what do you have on today?
I just realized this is the same kilt I wore last month. It just came up in rotation. County Leitrim.
Very nice, very nice. And today I have on the American Dream tartan in my brand spanking new Tattersall shirt, which I am very fond of. All right, here you go.
Okay.
So some for you, some for me, and some for our good friend Ian. Yes, indeed. All right. Can we bring Ian in there and to give us some tasting notes?
So, $37.99 is a sipping bourbon made from the highest quality ingredients and produced with small batch methods. The oak used in our barrels comes from the north. Because of the shorter growing season, the trees have more growth rings per inch, which significantly affects the flavor of our bourbon. Smooth with caramel, vanilla, and almond notes. Give it a little shake before you pour. It's up to you whether you want to share it with your friends or not.
How much do you like them
Give
or
it a
dislike
little
them?
shake before you pour.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
because
makes
I guess
me
there's a little bit of grit and a little bit of good stuff at the bottom of the bottle.
I see.
That's where they keep all the good stuff in whiskeys, is at the bottom
I've
of the
never
barrel.
heard that before.
Yeah. I don't, it's pretty clear. Like, I don't see any sediment or anything in it.
Yeah, I was looking
So-
earlier and I didn't see anything. But
Yeah. All right. So I'm just twirling it around a good bit.
Yeah,
It's
me
got
too. Just look at the legs.
Got a very overpowering oakiness and corniness.
And the smell, I'm definitely getting the oakiness quite a bit.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It's sweet too.
Okay.
Yeah. A little mapley, a little caramelly.
Yeah, it smells sweet.
You doing
Smells
this?
strong and ethanol-y, but like sweet. God damn, it's burning my nose hairs.
You go first.
All right. All right, Ian, what do you...
Slange.
What do I what? I can give some notes on how reviewers comment on it if you'd like.
Wow, that's a very sweet bourbon. Holy cats, that's sweet. Oof, it's burny.
It's sweet. It has a very oily mouthfeel to it.
Oily.
And it has like it went down. It was like okay. There it is.
Right there.
Yeah. No, it's like it hit the back of my mouth. It
Really?
took a few seconds of like swirling it around, swallow, give it a count to 5, and it hit me. What are the notes from the
Reviewers?
reviewers? Yeah.
It's dark amber color with copper tones. The nose is
Okay.
a big hit of dark caramel, creamed corn, and brown butter. Under that is a bit of nuttiness and ripe fruit and a waft of milled grains and smoke. It's sweet up front and throughout, but is well balanced by a pleasant spicy warmth mid-palate and just a hint of bitterness on the back end. Soft, but a bit thin on the palate, leaves me thinking of a dark chocolate-covered almond rolled in cacao powder and drizzled with molasses. That's a whole lot right there.
It is.
He was being paid by the word.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, Kristen looked up and I tried to look up some notes for it. There wasn't a whole lot from the distillers, and there wasn't a whole lot out there about it. So I found a few reviews, and that was the most professional sounding review.
Yeah.
So
Definitely get the caramel, the sweetness. I'm confused about the creamed corn part.
I don't get the cream corn either.
Yeah, I don't know what I would even think that would taste like in a whiskey.
here, I'm gonna say something weird. I don't think I've ever said before. If I get my nose into the glass versus smelling above the glass, it's almost a different smell. Like I get more like
More of those like alcohol-y esters for sure.
Yeah, I'm just getting the.
it smells more.
Clear out
It
your
smells
sinuses that way.
woodier down in versus up higher. I get a little bit more vanilla and a little bit more sweetness.
I don't think you're crazy.
I think you're just getting more alcohol.
Yeah,
when
that
you
might
get
be.
closer to the glass.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try a little water.
Yeah. All right. Try a couple drops. Oh, a couple more than the drops. A couple more than a couple. All right. Definitely cut down on the burn.
Cut the burn.
Yeah.
Big time. It cut the burn.
I still get, 5 or so seconds later, I still get a little bit of a pepper.
Yeah.
Okay.
The caramelly-ness has come out more also.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see what you're saying about the mouthfeel though. It's kind of a
Greasy.
rubbery. Yeah, that's the word that came to my mind, but yeah.
And I'm getting the metallic, a little bit of a metallic sensation on the sides of my tongue on it. That's where I'm getting the kind of thing from. So, all right. Ian,
Yeah.
score 1 to 10.
I'd go 3 or 4. Around there.
You have to give a number. You
That
can't.
low.
3.5.
3.5. There you go. Okay. How many times have you been on the show? No.
I've been on at least twice before.
Erik,
Do you want like a number or a bourbon specific number?
number. You can give me a bourbon specific number, but gotta go with 1. I don't want too many graphics.
With 1, you want me to say just 1? 1. No. I'm gonna say 4.2.
Okay.
As bourbons go, pretty cool. I like it. But I'm not a big bourbon person, so.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, and most bourbons I would say I probably rate in the 3s, maybe low 4s. I'd give this one a 4.8, which is high for me on a bourbon scale, or high for me on a scale.
Whiskey
period.
in general
Whiskey
scale.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll go 4.8 on it. It's better than I thought it was going to be for a bourbon. I'm not a bourbon guy. Okay. Very good. That is the ratings for MacLaughlin's $37.99 Distillery. By the way, horrible label being that dark and black. You can't see. You can barely see what's on there. You have to keep spinning it and moving it around. So yeah, not a big fan of the label.
Bringing a whole
but-
point off.
Exactly. Oh, how dare they? All right,
Horrible presentation.
boys and girls, put your comments down below in the contents or questions, whatever the hell. I don't know.
In context.
Put your-
Context is good.
Put your comments in context in the comments. Put your questions down in the comments below, and we are, as always, but your humble servants here to answer whatever kilt and or culture-related questions you have for us. While we are waiting for Ian to start accumulating some questions, we have some that were pre-asked for the show. Erik,
Pre-asked,
if
yes.
you would.
I'd be happy to. Eric Maxwell says, I have a few different tartan vests that I am trying to figure out how to pair with a single jacket. Not a Prince Charlie, not that level of formality, but what would you recommend for tartan vests? What do they actually look good with?
Okay. Tartan vest pair with a jacket. So you can, when it comes to a black argyle jacket or even a Prince Charlie to some degree, I think it's okay to pair a tartan vest with a black jacket. I don't think it looks bad. I would say make sure that the tartan vest matches the kilt. That's my personal bugaboo. I know there's pictures out there of somebody in MacLaughlin hunting vest and a MacLaughlin red kilt, or vice versa with a Prince Charlie or something like that. And like a goat hair sporran, like it's somebody, I want to say high up in the clan if I'm remembering the photo correctly, but
Okay, well,
I'm not a fan of mixing, even in the same clan tartan, different vest and kilt. But there's some precedent for it.
Okay.
As long as it's the same tartan, or same clan. I mean, agreed. I wouldn't do it either, but it's been done. What are your thoughts on tartan vest with solid jacket? Would you do it with a tweed jacket?
Yeah, actually, my thinking personally is I would sooner wear a tartan vest as part of smart day wear than for evening, but that's me. And I really dispute the idea of wearing a regular vest with a Prince Charlie jacket.
A tartan vest with a
tartan, yes, but the point is tartan vests are usually the standard 5-button vest design, not the deep lapelled collar 3-button design that you have with a Prince Charlie set. I think it looks awkward. I know a lot of people do it, but I really don't like it personally. So I would not do a PC. Now, a doublet, like an Argyle or a regulation doublet, I could see. Okay. And that would give you a kind of a cool, kind of a retro turn of the 19th century flair to it. I don't like the idea of mixing tartans. So I think if I were going to wear a tartan vest, I would have, I'd have it on the bias, first of all. Make sure we're clear about that as opposed to straight on, have it on the bias. And I would have the same tartan kilt, or I would do a solid color kilt, like a tweed kilt and a tweed jacket.
That's where you lost me.
Sorry.
The
kind of charcoal tweed shadow tartan kilt and a tweed jacket. Will you give me the jacket at least?
Tweed jacket. I can see
toning nicely with some colors in the vest.
I can see. Yes, I can see that.
Okay.
I'm going to push back a little bit on the Prince Charlie, but for a different reason. I'm going to come to the same conclusion as you. Where I think you can wear a 5-button vest with a Prince Charlie. It's a newer, a little bit more contemporary thing. It's been done more recently.
I know it is. I just don't like it.
I'm not saying you can't not like it. The reason why I come to the same conclusion, though, is because a lot of people who are getting a tartan vest are getting it the same length as a regular 5-button vest. And if you're wearing a 5-button vest with a PC, since the jacket itself is cut higher, you get a vest that is an inch or two shorter than you normally would to match the bottom of the jacket. You don't want the vest sticking out beyond the bottom of the Prince Charlie jacket and vest, especially if it's tartan, especially on the sides, because that would look a little odd. So, in all, I think I'm landing where I like tartan vests, and I'm going to go a little bit off script as well. I think there's place for them in your regular wardrobe as well. Like if you're wearing pants, like a pair of dress pants and a dress shirt, I could see as long as the vest is long enough and meets the top of the pants or covers like a little bit of the top of the pants, I think you could wear a tartan vest with pants. I think you could wear a tartan vest. Let's think like Thanksgiving dinner. And it's, just with family kind of thing. So you're not really getting dressed up, but you want to look a little bit nice. I could see a dress shirt, a tartan vest, and a pair of jeans, like a nice pair of jeans for a nice dressy, casual kind of look.
I think jeans are still cut a bit on the lower side, so you're going to
Depends on the cut of the jeans.
Yeah, I think you have to check yourself to make sure you're not having some gaposis and your shirt puffing out, frankly. And you're more at risk for that if you have a vest which was originally made to be a kilt cut vest. It's going to vary depending on your body shape.
Yep.
Obviously if you're skinny as a rail, chances are you're going to get away with it more easily, like with everything else, right? So I can see that though. I do see tartan vests as as a flexible option.
Yeah.
You can always wear it open too. If you're going super casual, you wear it open, and then you don't have to worry about the gaposis or whatever because you're just a cool tartan vest wearing guy.
Or if you're not allowed to wear kilts to the office.
Yeah,
that would be a way to
in that sense, it's
express
kind of
your
like
heritage
a
at the
tartan
office.
necktie.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I can definitely agree with that.
Agreed. So I think you tartan vests deserve more than they're given. I think that there's something there. There's something there.
But we have a fundamental disagreement. I would not wear a tartan 5-button vest or any 5-button vest with a Prince Charlie jacket. I would prefer an argyle or a doublet. I think a doublet with a tartan vest and a matching same tartan kilt could be a really cool look for formal.
I don't disagree. Yes, indeed. So I hope that helps.
You just do that at the same time. We're just like, there's the screen cap for next month's show.
Exactly. Do we know what we're talking about? All right. Very good. Ian, do we have anyone out there on the interwebs
We sure do.
yapping at us?
We've got quite a few people yapping.
Nice.
Some of them are even asking questions.
Ooh.
I'm
So I've
scared.
got a question here from Silver Oilman. We're all familiar with haggis, whiskey, and iron brew, but what cheeses are definitively Scottish in origin? I figured we'd start with a fun one here. I was hoping you guys knew because I don't have a good answer to that.
No, I have.
I thought you were asking because you knew. I don't know anything.
I know cheddar is English, but it's
yeah,
not Scottish.
Yeah.
From Cheddar Gorge.
This is a question for my wife, not for me.
Yeah, I know Wegmans was selling like Scottish cheese very vaguely a bunch like 2 months ago. They must have had like a huge surplus of it they were trying to push.
Just,
I don't know any
stumped.
regions in regions like cheddar, like or things like that. I don't know if there's a specific cheese for a particular region in Scotland. I'm sure there are plenty of people in Scotland who make cheese. I'm sure there are plenty of craft cheese makers, not K-R-A-F-T, but C-R-A-F-T. Cheesemakers in Scotland. That really wasn't meant to be a dad joke. But I'm sure there's plenty of them, and I'm sure there's plenty that are good. I don't know of any.
I don't know what they're known for.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a part of Scottish cuisine that Scotland is known for, and that's why.
No, but
Not to disparage the old country, but
no. But when
I
you
think
go
of
to
cheese, I think England.
Yeah,
you know?
but when you go to like
Or Ireland, frankly.
I was at a couple nice restaurants in Inverness and that kind of thing, and back when I was there this past January, and they had some really nice cheese plates. I remember Kelly getting some nice cheese plates and things like that, and there was some very fancy ways to prepare haggis, and they got very very fancy and artistic with their food. It's not a boring, bland. If you're a foodie, so to speak, it's not a boring, bland country. There are plenty of really cool spots to visit. There are plenty of cool microbrews and things like that too, and distilleries. But I can't think of anything like, oh yes, this particular cheese. Ian,
We're getting several comments to the effect of Caboc cheese. I don't know what that is.
Caboc?
C-A-B-O-C.
Never heard of that one.
Believed to be Scotland's oldest cheese. It is a double cream cheese.
double cream cheese.
Hey, Caboc!
Does it rival Philly for Philadelphia's cream cheese?
I think cream cheese in America is not the same as cream style cheese.
Double cream over there is like equivalent to heavy whipping cream.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a very high milk fat content. I don't know.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay, so we learned something new today.
Yes, we
Nice.
learned that we know nothing about cheese in Scotland.
And now I'm hungry. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I do love a good cheddar.
I was gonna joke that the official cheese of Scotland is mozzarella because they invented deep fried frozen pizza. But I was arguing with somebody. There was a meme that was like said all British cuisine is as if the Germans are still flying overhead. You know, it's like rewards. And I was like, no, English maybe, but go to Scotland. There's food there. And as a joke, I said, and you should also Google munchie boxes. And they did. They're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry now. This is awesome. So, but yeah, they'll deep fry. They'll take a frozen pizza, fold it in half, and deep fry that sucker. And apparently it's the bomb because nobody knows how to deep fry things like Scotland does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I am hungry now. Start.
Gotcha.
Damn people. All right, Erik.
Yes, sir. I promise you this question is not a cheesy one. Tim Jenny asked, how do you choose which tartan you want as a family tartan if all you have to go on is a DNA match to a country, not a family name? My adopted family has no Celtic ancestry, but my DNA test says that I am 78.9% Irish. Thanks in advance.
So how do you choose your tartan if you don't know, if you don't have the direct line? I'll start by saying this. Ancestral work, tracing your family lineage, is not an easy thing. I wish there was a silver bullet. I wish there was a way to say, prick my finger or, spit on a tube or whatever. Here you go, boom, done. And I know exactly where I came from, the village and who I'm related to and and all that kind of stuff. It is not
even
that
close.
simple. So unfortunately, the answer is you got to do a lot more work depending on how close to the kernel of truth you want to get. So you know that you are, X% Irish or have Irish ancestry, I should say. Great. There are plenty of universal tartans you can get for Ireland. There are plenty of universal tartans you can get for Scotland. If you can trace your family back, if you have, you said you were adopted, so if there's, records of the adoption, there are going to be some roadblocks there. A lot of people, when they try to trace their family lineage and they get back to the immigration records, but when they cross the pond trying to figure out where their family was from in England, in Wales, in Scotland, in Ireland, or in Germany, wherever, it becomes a lot murkier. And trying to find, pick up the thread over there is a very, very difficult task. So I would say make that your passion, make that a goal, make that your North Star, but don't let it stop you from getting a kilt or expressing your heritage. If you know that you are Irish, but you're not sure where from, there are some people who are like, well, I'm not going to get an Irish tartan until I figure it out. If that's the case, you may be dead. A lot of people don't ever figure it out. So don't let the ultimate goal of I need to figure this out stop you from doing something along the way to enjoy the journey. The journey is the journey. You have to enjoy the journey, and so point being, and this is not meant to sound like a sales pitch of go out and buy something right now, but I would say don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. I would say get something that closely represents, or as closely as possible represents, your family heritage, and go that direction. And if people ask, well, like, this is the Irish national tartan to represent my Irish heritage, hard stop. That is a fine answer. You don't have to say, this is the County Roscommon tartan because my family emigrated through, New Jersey and New York, and I could trace my roots all the way back to County Roscommon and Mrs. McGillicuddy back in 1496. And A, no one cares. B, that you're telling on the street. B, it's fine either way. It's just the tartan to represent your heritage. Ultimately, the other thing you can do is design your own tartan. If you were adopted, you don't know where your family was from. You know that you are Irish, but you don't know how you got here. You don't know that story. Then start your own story. Make your own tartan, design your own tartan, and have that woven, because that is very, very, very unique to just you. So that's kind of where I'd go with it. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a bit rambling.
Your enthusiasm is admirable. Designing and getting woven your own tartan, that's hardcore and not cheap. So let's take that as a small proviso, okay? If you've got money to burn, sure. But yeah, essentially what happens with a lot of us is that we start with a clan tartan, and as we get more passionate about wearing the kilts on the regular and just get into that eating peanuts phase, we start collecting tartans based on just stuff that we like. So in a weird kind of way, you have the opportunity to sort of skip over that first step. Honestly, I think very few of the Irish county tartans to me are unattractive. A lot of them are beautiful, and as far as I'm concerned, they can all equally be representative of Ireland as a whole. So you're back to the whole what's your favorite color. If you have a guess where your family came from county-wise, great. If not, the national is a great idea also. You can choose a tartan based on something that you're passionate about. Like, if you're a hiker, you could choose something like the Grand Canyon tartan that we came out with,
or
in our case, or
folklore,
Appalachian folklore or something. Think about what you are passionate about. I mean, your heritage is definitely obviously part of it, otherwise you wouldn't be in this. But think about things that represent you as an individual, as a living, breathing, and adventurous person in the present day. And that is an equally valid way of representing your ancestry, because you are showing, I am this generation of these great people, and I'm going to live my life on my own terms. So why not just have fun with it? And if you want to be on the nose, you can get some Irish accessories. I mean, you could have any old tartan in a sense. I wouldn't do a clan tartan per se, but you could have a fashion tartan, a district tartan kind of a thing, Irish county tartan, and then use Irish accessories to, which honestly for most people is going to be a better tell. Oh, they're Irish, okay? Because most people still will see a tartan kilt and immediately assume you are Scottish, not Irish, even though the Irish wearing kilts now has been around for a while now. I wouldn't overthink it. I would trust your instincts, trust your passions, and enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Odds are you probably wind up with more than one kilt. So,
and a small tangential story as well. Don't be afraid to make a mistake within it.
True.
I don't know anyone in this room, maybe on the other side of the table over there, whose last name was Anderson, who got an Anderson kilt and realized that he's actually not an Anderson clan like Scottish Anderson. He's actually a Robertson. So it's
What a fool.
that guy, who would ever do such a thing? Not Ian.
Nope.
So it doesn't matter, because he wore the Anderson kilt with pride while he was wearing it. And then when he figured out, other parts of his family history, he said, oh, okay, cool. Now this opens me up to this other tartan, or I can do these other things.
Yeah.
So I would say, again, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. You're going to uncover new things. You're going to figure out mistakes. You're going to figure out things along the way. So just keep pushing forward and enjoy it while you're doing it.
Yeah. Don't gatekeep yourself. I mean, the from my perspective, part of heritage is telling the stories. There's far more than just one way to tell the story and to honor the ancestors as you go by doing this. So, like you said, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Think about who you are. Bottom line.
Agreed. Cheers.
Wash day.
Hope that helps, Tim. All right. Ian, what do we got out there?
I've got a question here from Matt Macca. Hey guys, Matt from Melbourne. I just bought.
Australia?
Yep.
Nice.
Excellent.
Spoilers, that's coming later in the question. I just bought
I have a question for him. But go ahead.
Matt from Melbourne. I just bought an ex-hire kilt, and it only has 2 buckles and straps, 1 on each side. My other kilts all have 3, 1 on one side, 2 on the other. Is this a sign of a fake kilt or any other reasons for concern? Cheers from Australia.
That's a great question, and we know exactly what the answer is for a change.
The
Gotcha.
Usually just BS.
we actually have someone feeding us the answers on a teleprompter right there. You just don't know.
We have a little AI machine here.
Exactly. A lot of times, he said it was an ex-hire kilt.
Ex-hire kilt.
For those who don't know, hire is the British term, or Australian term apparently as well, for rental. So if you buy a kilt from a rental agency or a hire agency, a lot of times they will leave off the hip strap because it allows for a little bit more give or take in the hip measurement. Higher kilts are often done to a 6 or 7 inch waist to hip difference, and they'll just have buckles on the top right and top left to cinch around the widest part of your waist, and then the hips are just gonna fall where they may. These kilts were not made specifically for the individual or every individual or
Not at
whatever.
all.
It's just made for a fleet of kilts. And then once the kilts have been, rented out 10, 20, 30 times, and they've been, dry cleaned and the stuffing kind of knocked out of them a little bit, before they're bound for the garbage bin, rental companies go, okay, this kilt, it still looks okay. It's resellable, but it's beaten up a bit. Maybe there's a pull here or there. let's sell it now so that we can recoup our costs and move it along and buy some new kilts. So he has next higher kilt. Frankly, that's the reason why the hip strap was left off. And some kilt makers actually leave the hip strap off of kilts as well. There are kind of two thoughts on it. I'll give either side of the coin. If a kilt is made properly to your measurements, like the hips are properly tapered to your exact measurements, then in theory you don't really need a hip strap because it just needs to be held up top,
Right.
and then it tapers down. Boom, good to go. I've always kind of taken a little bit of a different tack in that the only problem, because I've done a two buckle kilt for myself as well, and what I found was when I would sit down or spread my legs or move or whatever, I always found that the front apron kind of like pulled to the side a little bit, and I always wanted the second strap to kind of keep the tension, because on your left hand side as you're wearing the kilt, it's actually the front apron is sewn down about 8 inches. That's the fell. That's the length that it's sewn down. And if on the right hand side you just have the top buckle, it's only 2 inches or 2.5 inches down from the top of the kilt. You have a longer attachment point on the left and a shorter attachment point on the right. So as you move, the front apron can kind of twist this direction a little bit. So I've always been of the mind that putting the second apron strap on for the hip measurement allows it to be a little bit more even, connected, right and left side.
That's probably why people have defaulted to doing a hip strap. Honestly, it's because of that little extra sense of security. I mean, kilts have not always traditionally had a hip strap. In fact, I think Mac has informed us at one point that a lot of the military kilts never had a hip strap, especially going back in the day. And you may also notice that the way you can tell it's an higher rental kilt sometimes is because there's extra holes in the straps.
Or longer straps.
Straps.
Indeed.
Yeah, both. Yeah. So it doesn't mean you have a bad kilt at all. It's a different kilt.
Yeah, and the connectivity of kilts has evolved over time from literally nothing, and you just wrap it around and
belt it.
hold it on with a belt, to little cloth ties to tie it closed, to buttons for some historical examples, to single straps that are in let's say 3/4 to 1 inch wide on the tops, to our standard today for the most part 1.25 inch straps. Some companies use 1.5 inch straps. Some use two buckles. Some use 3. So it's an evolution. And 3 buckles, 1.25 inch is kind of where we've ended up for the most part today. But not every single company does it the exact same way. And as Erik said, that's fine. It still wraps around you. It still has 8 yards of cloth. It still has deep pleats. It's good to go. Don't worry about it. I wouldn't get your knickers in a twist, so to speak. I would just wear it, and as long as it fits you well, be happy you got a deal.
Yeah, probably a good deal.
Yeah.
Don't get your pleats in a bunch. I don't know.
Fair.
Quick aside, Melbourne, from what I understand, is an awesome freaking city, and one of my favorite content creators, Ocean Liner Designs, Mike, lives there. And one of my absolute favorite ska bands in the world, Melbourne Ska Orchestra, is from there. And I want to know, and if he can answer in the comments, if he even knows who that is, and if he's ever seen them, because if he has seen them live, I am jealous as hell. But anyway, that's all.
Indeed. And tell
I
them,
force you to listen to them.
tell them Erik said hi.
I wish. I would love to see them perform. That'd be a great freaking show.
Who thinks we should go to Australia to record content of Erik and I at a ska show?
Bucket list.
Yes.
Dream
indeed.
job.
See if we can write that off. All right. Erik.
Right. Our good friend Peter Hutchinson comes at us with, what is your process for designing new accessories like buckles and brooches? Do you have an in-house artist, or do you use another company for the designs?
What is our process for designing stuff?
Stuff. You look into a crystal ball.
Indeed. You get the magic 8 ball, which tells you designs. Hey, AI, what should I do?
Don't get me started on that bullshit.
Now, I would honestly say I have a weird mixture of things to design things. a mixture of inspirations to design things. It starts with what, especially when I started the company, just what I thought was cool. I thought I was cocksure enough to think like, hey, if I like this thing, I think other guys would like this thing, so I should design this thing. So I kind of trust my gut for a good amount of it, and as I've kind of grown in it and recognized that I don't know everything, and other people have, or there's certain things that I might see and be like, I don't like that thing, but it's still a popular thing, or it's just because it's not for me doesn't mean it wouldn't be a good product. I've kind of expanded the circles of influence, so to speak, of areas where I take some inspiration from. So I will, show, or I'll talk to, other employees. I'll talk to Ian, I'll talk to Erik, I'll talk to, other people in the building of, hey, what are some things that you would like to see for this? Or what are some accessories you would like to see? I'll ask, hey, have any customers in the store asked for X, Y, or Z type products? I will, keep my ear to the ground in the Facebook groups. So, whether it's the Kilts and Culture group or other groups that I'm in, I'll sort of listen and say like, okay, what are people talking about? What are pillars? What are trends? What are things that keep popping up often enough that it's like, there's something here. We need to explore this idea. Mm-hmm. And then I'll kind of start from that area first, whether it's just general gestalt, like Nordic Viking stuff. It's very popular. So, and has been for the last, 6 or 8 years. So, okay, that's popular. So maybe there's something there. And then we start looking at, all right, is there any tie into, Gaelic, Scottish, kind of culture? In case of Vikings, yes, there happens to be. Cool.
Happens to be?
Yeah, yes. just so happens. Now, talking to, other people in the group, what types of stuff, or the groups, what types of stuff do you guys like? Are there shirt designs? Are there, the company Grimfrost has a bunch of cool stuff. Talking to our friend Doug from Celtic Hammer Club. Hey, Doug, show me some, Nordic designs. And then kind of boiling things down and down and down and down, or distilling them down and down and down until you come up with some like solid individual type ideas that you can say, okay, now from all of these concepts, from all of these things, here's 2 or 3 different things we can really sink our teeth into and really make an impact.
That's like an initial stage of the process, though. Depending on where you're at with design, like how well you visualize it in your head. There have been times where you've done a design entirely out of your head and taking some drawings you find and modifying them and crafting it yourself. There are other times where along the way, you come up with a beta and then send it to an artist like Doug or someone else and say, hey, what could you do for me that's based on this concept or is like this? I need these parameters met. So it changes with each project, basically. We really enjoy collaborating with other artists, honestly. I'm always keeping an eye out for other people who have a visual style that could be, it sounds mercenary, but useful to us. That's like, hey, we're putting it that way. But
that would work well with our style.
Would work well with our style. That's a better way of putting it. Yeah, just strike what I said from the record. And yeah, I mean, good ideas don't always come down the main road, and sometimes random things will be like, what if we did a blah, 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 about that? So I just realized just as you were talking that I want a kilt pin of the Wallace Monument. I think the Wallace Monument would make an awesome freaking kilt pin.
That's fair. It's tall and skinny.
Mm-hmm. Ta-da.
Yeah. So yeah, it's inspiration strikes in many ways. So it's just about keeping your heart and mind open to different concepts and not saying like, no, I don't like that, so I'm not going to do anything like that. It's like, okay, well, is there value in it? Would somebody else like X, Y, or Z thing? And how can we twist it to make it unique, original, our own? And to your point, yes, my drawing skills ain't what they used to be. When it comes to drawing things, I think I may still have my original cantle design and harp designs for the Irish harp cantle that we did. And It is horrible. It's literally like on chicken scratch on a piece of paper. And I was like, hey, Sam, one of our suppliers over there, do you have any artist friends? Cool. Here's an idea for a cantle. Make this thing go. And I had him find somebody. But I like collaborating with different artists. I love Doug from Celtic Hammer Club, as I said. People who kind of get it and row the boat the same direction and see what we see, and are willing to put their art out there in a different way, like in a metal versus on canvas. It's a neat process. I love coming up with new designs and making things exist that never existed before. I love having a concept and going all the way through the process of concept to physical thing in front of me.
I think that's the challenge also, is because there are so many designs which have become cliche. So the trick is to come up with something which is not only good, but also original, or a logical, reasonable, and elegantly fresh take on the classic. You know, that can be the challenge in this space. But I think we do okay. And I think we're talking too much about ourselves now, so we should shut up.
Yeah. No, well, it's all about the art. So it's not about necessarily us, but it's about the process of the art.
The marketable art. Want to buy a kilt pin, Sonny?
Well, it's not just taking, clip art, slapping a couple things together and putting it out. It's about coming up with original designs.
And that's what I hate. I mean, there's so much schlock out there where it's obvious. I can point to the page in the old-fashioned Dover clip art book where it's like, I know where you got that design from. So ugh.
Nope, you're not wrong. And a lot of
It's
a
true.
lot of pewter companies, a lot of Scottish companies, throughout the last 150 years, they're like, oh, that company came out with, a sword kilt pin. I'm going to just change a little tiny bit of the tip, and now it's going to be ours. Or they did this thing, I'm going to do something. There's a lot of like knockoffs of each other within certain industries.
Yep.
So just thinking outside of the box and being like, it doesn't have to all look the same. You can do something entirely different and have it be better and different, and then nobody else has the same thing. So why not create? I want to create art for art's sake. So yes, indeed. So I'm inspired by art and just creating things in general. It's fun. Yeah, that's the fun part of my job, frankly. Very good. I hope that helps.
To get you a beret.
Yes, indeed. And a long cigarette. Yes.
Really? You
French.
Do the dolly cigarette holder thing?
Indeed, yes, and thin pencil
And
thin mustache.
and like
yes.
wax it like crazy?
Yes, indeed. I look exactly
You
like
wax it up so it
Dolly.
looks like two Nessies coming up on your cheeks like that. So.
Or Viking longship,
Yes, there you go. Well, that's what I should do.
Yes, that's fair. Well, gotta be different.
Or hockey sticks. You can kind of like hockey sticks.
Take a shot. All right, no.
A little round soul patch for the puck.
Yes, I started selling advertising space on my face.
Sorry, I'm tired.
Yes,
Ian.
indeed. Ian, so what
Save
do we
me.
got out there?
So I've got a question here. It's one we've answered several times, but there's a twist on it.
Okay.
From Wolf Warden. If I have kilts from a waist measurement of, say, 52 inches, and I'm now wearing waist of 48 inches, is it possible to get the kilts adjusted? My height, and here's the twist, and hip measurement have not changed.
Hip
measurement has not changed at all.
Apparently not.
Interesting.
And this speaks to a thing I tell customers sometimes. Sometimes I'm planning on losing weight. I'm going to lose about this much. Will I be able to get my kilts adjusted? It's like, it's tough to say. Because you could have, two guys with the exact same measurements right now, and they could both lose the same amount of weight, but one guy loses it all over, and one guy loses it just in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty dramatic difference in terms of how much change there is between those
Yeah,
two.
that's a fair point. So to Ian's point, if you lose weight in the belly but not the hip, if you look at your kilt now, if the kilt was made for you and it was made for your waist and hips, so let's say, I'm just going to make up numbers, 52 waist, 54 hips, and there's a little bit of taper in the kilt. The buckles, frankly speaking, if the kilt was made properly, are probably right on top of each other. They should pretty much align on the same pleat. Now, if you lose 4 inches in the waist and no inches in the hips, that means you're moving the top buckle 4 inches over, but the hip buckle, instead of being aligned, here, I'm going to put my coffee down. So if the buckles are here and here, so they're perfectly aligned, and you lose 4 inches in the waist, but nothing in the hips, now the buckles are not aligned. So your front apron could kind of twist a weird way, or the pleats could maybe skew a little bit in a weird way, or the top of the kilt might gap in a weird way, based on the fact that the buckles are now like 4 inches offset from each other. Erik.
We have talked in the past about how kilts sometimes don't have a hip strap. Maybe the answer is to do the buckle change on the waist and then just ditch the hip strap completely. Don't need it. Don't have to have it.
That's a good point. However, but back to my concern about the hip straps. Now, if you cinch the top one down and it's over 4 inches, but the hips are meant for this, it's going to kind of twist the kilt a little bit almost automatically. I think removing the hip strap could potentially help some, but I don't think it's not a silver bullet.
It's not going to be a perfect solution. If you're trying to get some more mileage out of the kilt, that might be a way to go. The question, Wolf, is basically where are you at in your finances, in your kilting journey, all that. We sometimes recommend that if surgery is not going to be an option for the kilt, sell it and get a new one, because there will be people out there who are interested in buying it. You may not recoup a huge amount of your investment, but at least you get something back for it, and you can put it towards the new one.
My experience has been when you're selling a traditional 8-yard wool kilt, you typically, as long as the kilt is not in horrible holes and that kind of thing, you can get half to 2/3 of your cost, so 50 to 60%. So if you spent $600 on it, $700 on it. If you spend $600, you could probably get $300, maybe $350 for an 8-yard kilt in any particular size, in any particular tartan, as long as the tartan isn't hideous. That's about where I'd say you could probably land on it. Ian, you look intent to say something.
Yeah, I really like Erik's solution of eliminating the lower strap and buckle. I sometimes do recommend that. But to your point, it can alleviate the problem. It doesn't really solve the problem because you need to build that in when you sew the pleats.
Right.
I would say, he said kilts with a, plural there. I would say try one before you go nuts and bring 6 kilts in for adjustment and it doesn't end up working. That's my main advice.
Yeah, definitely measure twice, cut once.
It's not to say every kilt will work out just as well as the first one, assuming the first one works out well, but, something to think about.
And removing the lower strap and the lower buckle is easy.
Yeah.
Any competent tailor can do that. Frankly, any competent tailor can, or dry cleaner with tailoring service, can move the straps and buckles in to make a kilt smaller. It's not that big of a deal. And removing the lower strap and the lower buckle, it's easy. It's literally 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, cool. I hope that info helps.
Good luck.
Erik.
Okay. What?
We'll make this one the question of the day one.
Okay.
And then we're going to go to we're almost at half.
Wow, time
does
flies.
fly, yes. And or we're long-winded.
Jeff Cleary wrote to us, I'm a big fan of Celtic zoomorph art, like you find in the Book of Kells, but also modern designs. Which Celtic animal do you think is the coolest? And which one would you wear yourself as jewelry, such as a kilt pin?
Okay.
So zoomorphics.
Zoomorphic designs.
We're talking zoomorphic.
We're talking zoomorphic designs here.
It's just one more animal, man.
So for those who don't know, what is a zoomorphic design? A zoomorphic animal is an animal. Think of the Book of Kells. So it is an animal, and then the body is like knotwork, or you have two animals fighting, and they're all twisted up on each other, or two guys, two human figures, and they're all twisted up and pulling on each other's beards or whatever. So that's what zoomorphic means. So what animals would you like, and we can bring Ian in as well for this, what animals, zoomorphic animals, would we like to see as kilt accessory designs? Let's each pick 2. We'll go around twice. Ian.
Okay, I wish I had more time to think about this question.
Erik, go first. If you have
I wish I had more time to think about it.
All right, I'll go first.
No, I could do it. Now, wait, hang on. Are we talking animals that have traditionally been represented in Celtic Gaelic art?
Anything.
Or any animal?
Any animal.
Any
animal that you would like to see
Okay.
in a kilt pin or represented zoomorphically.
Okay. For a traditional one, it's gonna sound cliche, but I do kind of like lions. Simple answer, you know.
Where would you ever get that idea?
Yeah,
It's not on
that's
my
part
mug.
of it.
Yeah.
As a Nordic person, serpents are always a big thing. For off the reservation, like a really funky animal, I think an orca would be freaking cool.
An orca, a whale. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think orca.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I like orca.
Okay. So lion, serpent. Serpent is almost, it's almost the low-hanging fruit on
I
that
know,
one.
I know,
They twist and
but that's
do
part of
not
my
work anyway.
culture. So
Yes,
you know.
I know. Ian.
I like the orca idea, especially to go with the Pacific Northwest kilt. That'd be pretty sharp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an outdoorsy person, so I love to see eagles, bears, that kind of thing.
Hawk.
If we're leaning more the traditional route, I like boar. Boar's a cool creature to do zoomorphic stuff with.
How did you not say raven?
Oh, good point. I'd like a raven. I do have a raven kilt pin.
I think it's because I have a bunch of Raven stuff already.
But
I'm trying to think more.
Okay.
What?
you people.
My favorite would be the Raven, Rocky, or if you prefer, maybe a wolf. In fact, I would like to see 2 wolves to represent Gary and Freki, the wolves of Odin.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I would say, since you didn't say it, I'd say raven. Because that would be cool for
often-
Irish as well as Nordic. There's
Different meanings in each culture, but yes.
indeed. I didn't say it had to have a particular meaning. What other one? I like the idea of lion, but the lions from the Book of Kells are very like Chinese New Year's dragon looking.
I like them.
So I'm not a big fan of those. I would like to see. That's why our logo looks a little bit different than a Book of Kells style lion. I think I don't want to say. I think boar could be cool.
Or is low-hanging fruit too, though,
Yeah,
when you think about it.
yeah,
I mean, it's powerful, but
yeah. It's on a bunch of the clan crests and stuff.
how
Campbell
about,
has boar.
well, yeah, and it has huge significance in most of the Celtic Gallic cultures, and the Norse. But what about, a little closer home, what about a wolfhound or deerhound?
No.
Big, strong,
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. How about elk or stag?
again, it's done all the
Yeah.
time.
I don't see many zoomorphic versions,
Hmm.
oddly enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a zoomorphic stag could be pretty cool. Or, here you go, a puffin.
I was about to say, what about a puffin? Damn it, get out of my head. I was literally going to say puffin.
I had that loaded for a minute and a half. Yes, puffin is a cute.
I've
little
been
Scottish
working
animal.
with you for far too long.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Or bear, like Ian said. I mean, I'm wearing a bear thing right now,
Okay.
actually. Bear claw.
All right. All right.
Oh, does it have to be the whole animal? Could it be a part of an animal? Just the head or just a claw, like on my thing? Or
It depends on the animal. Okay, here's the other one. The elephant in the room that's not elephant.
what about fantasy animals?
I was going to say dragon. Dragon's the other one. There are so many dragons, and I think there's so many cool variations or things you can do with a dragon.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to, it can be head and neck, it could be wings, it could have hands or not. It doesn't have to be the Welsh, dragon kind
No,
of
I
thing.
think something. I'm always in favor of something that supports Welsh culture and history too.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I think it's something said for that too.
Yeah. Okay. So here's going to be the question of the day. What zoomorphic animal would you like to see as a kilt accessory? Let us know in the comments. Nothing's off the table. So just spitball anything. What would you like to see as a zoomorphic, cool kilt accessory? Whether it's kilt pin, cantle, belt buckle. What animal do we need more of in our lives?
Greenland shark.
And why is it orca whales?
Yeah, why is it orca whales? 'Cause
Indeed.
orcas are freaking awesome. Love orcas.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yes, put those down in the comments, and we are going to revisit this question at the end of the show. until I forget and somebody reminds me, either Adam or Ian, because my memory is horrible. Ian, what do we have for one more question before midpoint of show?
Yes.
Come on, Ian.
So, Thomas Barrett says, I'm a t-shirt guy. I have grandfather shirts and they are great. I'm not much of an Oxford button-up shirt guy. So question, what kind of long sleeve shirts would you recommend? There's actually quite a bit of discussion about this throughout the group, and he's definitely looking for something that's in the middle ground between a Henley and a dress shirt. So he's looking for more ideas. But Henley's a good answer. Sorry to steal that from you guys. Opportunity.
Because my answer is going to be, it's either going to be Henley.
Mm-hmm.
I've owned many of those over the years. And nobody likes it when I say this, but I like turtlenecks. I like turtlenecks and mock turtlenecks. I think they look cool. I tend to wear a lot of neck jewelry, so they show off, like, if I got Thor's hammer or something on, it just shows off the jewelry really well. But everybody thinks I look like a dork, except me. So
Is there any more context for the question? He's looking for a long sleeve.
that's true. Like, does he have to wear it to the
Dress up,
office, or does he have to wear it to...
No, I just think he's trying to be a little more dressy than a t-shirt, but he's not
Right.
getting into that like
Yeah.
day wear,
I'd
smart
go-
day wear kind of look either.
Then I'd go with the two we mentioned, or a pilot shirt. Military shirt. Anything with the military style breast pockets.
Yeah, but he doesn't like the button down.
That's about as...
It may be also
they're
the
real-
collar thing.
He likes the grandfather shirts. I don't think it's explicitly anti-button.
Okay,
down.
fair.
My thing is, there's so many different shirts based on that classic style. You can get a lot of different fabrics. So it's a very flexible and easy go-to kind of a stylish shirt, because you can get warm ones, for the winter, and you can get, nice cool ones for the summer. I think it's kind of classic, and especially in like casual Highland wear, I think it's kind of classic too, because of our close relation to the military history of Scotland too. So I think it has that vibe. It has the right vibe, in my opinion. But
So I would say I am probably anti-turtleneck.
Like wearing a turtleneck is like being strangled by a really weak guy.
I'm not a big turtleneck fan. However, I see your point. That would be a one to dress it up a little bit. Mine would be, you don't have to get rid of the t-shirt. I would wear a t-shirt and a cotton sweater or a light sweater, something to dress it up a little bit. This past winter, I've gotten a bunch more sweaters, especially for Christmas. I got a bunch of sweaters. I actually was debating whether I was going to wear one of my navy sweaters today or this shirt and vest on the show. So and it doesn't have to be expensive. Like Joseph A. Banks is running 8,000 sales a freaking year. You can get sweaters anywhere. But a lighter weight sweater, a lot of times, like you can get a cable knit cotton sweater or a cable knit lightweight wool sweater for $40, $50 max for something reasonable quality. You can spend as much as you want, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. And you can get sweaters in 1,000 different colors. So there's that option, to match different kilts. And it looks nice at the office. You wear a t-shirt under it, a lightweight sweater, good for the day. So that's kind of my answer would be lightweight sweater.
You didn't ask about layering, but yeah, I see where you're going with that. Now, do you want to insert your rant about things like rugby shirts and stuff at this point? Because I think sometimes people are tempted to do sport shirts like that as a middle ground also for casual, but we have issues with how they look with a kilt. Do you want to bring that up?
What rant? Like the horizontal striped rugby shirts? Yeah, I would say, let me rant about rugby shirts.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yay! It's Rocky rant time.
I do not like horizontal or vertical. I don't like stripes with tartan patterns. Period. End of story. Nope, don't do it. I don't care who you are. You're not going to convince me it looks good. I've done it. I have evidence of me doing it. It looks horrible. I hate it. I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing.
Use it for a company photo.
I did. It was on. I know it was in a newspaper, but anyway, horizontal stripes rugby shirts. No, solid color rugby shirts. Good times. Good stuff. A singular stripe. I mean, when I say like horizontal stripes, yeah. If it's like the big
colors.
wide, 8 stripes going across.
Right.
No. If it is like one stripe, across the top, I think I have like a Guinness one or something like that. Then I'm a little bit more forgiving. But multi-stripe all the way, that's the pattern of the shirt. No. So that's my
Weird.
yeah.
With the kilt.
It's too much. It's too much. Too busy. Too conflicting. Does that meet your requirements for a rant about rugby shirts?
I'll take it.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Any other long sleeve dressy shirts? Like I like waffle knit shirts too, like
They're
waffle
not
knit
dressy.
Henleys, but they're not
If
really
he's trying
dressy.
to look
Yeah.
dressy. Because I was going to say, what if you do a T-shirt over a Henley? Because we used to do that all the time back in college.
It's not
Or not a
dressy.
Henley, but a thermal shirt. But no, it's not dressy at all.
No.
Um,
Yeah, rugby shirt, sweater,
work shirt. Yeah, military shirt or a work shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe not Dickies. But
Yeah.
yeah, not Dickies.
Yeah. You don't have a whole lot of options as far as I can see. So good luck
Thank you
with
for the question.
those three.
You're screwed.
Yes, indeed. I don't have much more insight other than, essentially the things that were already said in the comments or that Eric and I put out. All right. Hope that helps. All right, Eric, you're up
Ambassador.
next. Oh, Eric, I was just about to tell you we shouldn't do another question because we've reached the midpoint of the show. We should do the ambassador now. So here it is, our Kilt Ambassador of the Month.
Hey guys, our ambassador today, Jessie Sue Hester, hails from Ozark, Missouri. Her career for about 10 years was as a seamstress, and 4 of those she spent in the world of historical recreation. Nowadays, Jessie works for the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians in early childhood development at their Head Start Center. Her daughter, by the way, also attends the Cherokee Central School and is learning the language there. So how did Jessie arrive there? Well, it's a bit of a long story, but suffice to say, Jessie feels most at home in the forests and glens of Appalachia. And she learned the Cherokee shared that connection and a whole lot more. Here was a community that was deeply passionate about preserving their culture, central knowledge, and traditional way of life. And this resonated with Jessie on a personal level. A descendant of the Scottish and Irish immigrants who settled in North Carolina and Tennessee, she strives to embody the best aspects of that heritage. As she puts it, "Since I was a young child, I have been completely in love with the Gaelic languages, the music, and the old legends. Whatever life force that flows through the blood of the Gaels that connects them to the magic of the earth, I feel that within me. I seem to carry those ancestors with me wherever I go." Jessie thus walks 2 paths that are braided together. As an avid student of history, she has delved deeply into the old connections between the Gaelic settlers and the Cherokee. And this is reflected in her art and service to the tribe. Jessie sews traditional garments for the Cherokee community, especially the Okanalufti Indian Village, which is a community of reenactors who showcase Cherokee crafts and lifeways. She also sews for the Anakidua, a team of delegated ambassadors who represent the EBCI nation. She says, "I feel absolutely honored to sew their garments for them. This community is very much centered around the arts. It made me feel very welcome to find a place in the community to contribute my sewing." Now, for herself, Jessie makes the majority of her own clothing and leans into historical designs that reflect her ancestry. So you'll typically see her wearing either a tartan arasich or a rowana, and she's a genius with corsetry. Jessie has found many fascinating parallels between the cultures of the Cherokee, the Irish, and the Highlanders. And she believes the most respectful way of honoring any culture is to take the time to gain a well-rounded knowledge of the history, cultural ways, and spiritual roots of the people. She says, "The Cherokee, the Highlanders, and the Irish are all alike in the fact that they are indigenous cultures, rooted in their connection to the earth. I think it's very important to acknowledge this and also very important to acknowledge the hardships they have faced. Yet they survived to be here in this world today. It's important to acknowledge their strength." Honestly, I could not agree more. I want to thank Jessie for everything she's doing to support culture and community. And if you want to talk to her, maybe talk to her about what she's doing, check her out on the Kilts and Culture Facebook group. Here's to you, Jess.
Slanjava?
Slanja, I really enjoyed talking to her about... There was a lot that we talked about that did not make it into that segment. So if you're interested in what she's experiencing in her world, like I said in the video, do check out, see if you can ping her on Kilts and Culture Facebook group. Very intelligent and very talented woman. We talked a lot about language loss, about how it's a problem that both the Cherokee have been dealing with, and they're incorporating into their school curriculum, which of course is just like Gaelic in Ireland and Scotland. So it's talked about. You really have to go no holds barred, no stop, gung-ho if you're going to preserve the language and the other aspects of the culture. So
Yep. And we talk about all the
freaking
time
awesome.
about, being a sincere student of the culture. Doesn't just mean Scottish culture. Whatever culture you're into,
yeah.
jump in with both feet. The water's fine.
And being a strong ally, I think, is the other thing, because she has basically made herself an asset to that community because she believes in them.
Yeah.
So I respect it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Much respect.
All right. So last one was Ian. Erik, what do we got next?
Yaza. Well, we have me messing up my papers. Okay. Pete Duras. Sorry, Pete. Pete Duras said, I'm just starting the process of buying a kilt. What else do I need to go with it? My heritage, by the way, is Irish. Classic newbie question.
Just starting the process of buying a kilt.
I am just starting the process of buying a kilt. What else do I need to go with it? What besides the kilt should he prioritize?
I would... Okay.
Everybody in the comments, love bomb him. Tell him what to do.
Indeed. So when you're... I would kind of do a bit of research. What's that? The old phrase, buy cheap, buy twice. So I would try to figure out essentially first, before you just jump in and say, I'm going to buy this thing because it's in front of me and I love it. Before you get too excited, figure out what you want to look like, what you want your whole vibe to be. Are you going to wear this for formal? Is it for a wedding? Are you going to wear it for casual only? Are you more of a t-shirt guy, more of a long sleeve guy? Like, how do you want to approach it? How do you want to be perceived? How do you want to express your heritage? And then set some benchmark kind of goals for yourself. And look at photos, whether that's of people wearing kilts, that you can Google, whether it's in Facebook groups, whether it's here on the show, whatever it is. Look for people who have either a similar sense of style to your style, or a sense of style that you want to emulate with your Highland dress, and then start trying to plan around that and move that direction. If this is for formal, then don't buy a cheap kilt and don't buy a cheap sporran. Like, save up and buy a proper dress sporran and buy a slightly nicer kilt, a wool kilt. If this is just for festivals, then buy a day sporran, don't buy a dress sporran. So there's different horses for different courses. So I would say doing a little bit more research and a little bit more thought. I'm not saying, study the art of the kilt for 6 years before you become a master. It's just get a good sense, get a good grounding of what you want to do before you just jump right in. A lot of people, you can ask it and tell me in the comments if this is you. I bought my first cheap kilt at a Ren fair, and then figured, this isn't as nice as I want, and I've learned more and more and more since then, and now I never wear that kilt anymore. You could have taken that, $70 and spent it on, or put it towards a nicer day sporran or a nicer kilt. So I'm for educating yourself and figuring out the right thing to do, or having a little bit more thought in your actions and where you're putting your dollars before you put your dollars there, to make sure that you're ending up with a better outfit and pieces of your kit that you're actually going to like and actually going to wear. Erik.
Yep. I endorse this message. No, I do actually. It's funny because you're almost saying basically put together a Pinterest board. Find pictures of outfits and stuff that you like, and start with that. As far as the order of march goes for kilt stuff, you get the kilt. Next, you get a day sporran. Make sure it's black, because it will be more flexible for different occasions than brown. Even if you love brown, trust me, get black first. Second, get a belt and buckle. Again, black. Keep it relatively simple, more flexible. Fourth, kilt pen. You don't have to have one, but they're fun to have. And then equal with that, really tied for fourth place, would be a set of kilt hose and some flashes, so you can dress up a little bit and have your legs covered. Think about, I don't know if you have a tartan picked out for the kilt. If you do, great. Think about some very simple color matching with other stuff then. If you don't have a kilt picked out and you're open-minded because you're coming from Irish, so you have more flexibility anyway, Think about the main colors in your wardrobe already and what your favorite colors are. And that's it.
Yeah.
Basically, kilt, sporran, belt, kilt hose. Tied with kilt pin.
Yeah, and I love your point about thinking about the colors and the things that you already have in your wardrobe, because the ability to... The kilt doesn't have to be like a wholly separate category that you only wear these clothes with your kilt and these clothes every other day of the week when you're not wearing the kilt.
Right.
It should blend in. It should be part of what you can wear, or your existing wardrobe should supplement things that you can wear with your kilt to get more versatility out of the whole thing. That's one of the things that I've always stressed from day one, and have really tried to do myself, is find versatility within parts of the outfit and not just buying one thing for this one and only scenario, but buying something that like, oh, I can wear this shirt with that one, or that one, cool. Or I can wear this sporran in a few different scenarios. So looking for, especially when you're starting out, versatility in everything you do and figuring out ways to mix it all together.
Yeah.
That helps you find your personality within it as well, and your own style within it.
Yep.
So, cool. Hope that helps. Mr. Ian.
Yeah, so I've got a question here from Rebecca Korzenborn Agner. Sorry if I butchered your pronunciation. I'm interested in a Bruce tartan that can be used to swaddle my new grandson, Bruce. What should I buy that could do that? A shawl? A fly? Not sure what to get.
For a baby?
For a baby. She's using it specifically to swaddle.
Yeah, so 11 ounce.
So, looking for a Bruce tartan to swaddle a baby.
Yeah.
As long as
Is there a
it's spit up
specific
proof.
product that's going to be good dimensions, is what I was thinking.
Dimensions, and or I'm thinking weight of cloth. I would probably go for Lochheron's, Reaver, so they're a 10, 11 ounce kind of cloth, and I would say probably a shawl is going to be the best
I would do the shawl.
product for that. Something, it's basically a big square. Lochheron's Reaver quality cloth is a little bit softer. It's meant for women's wear. It's meant to be soft against the skin. It's still wool, but it's meant to be soft and drape. Have a nice drape to it. So I would definitely do their cloth. And again, the shawl. Ian, do you remember what the dimensions of the
I
shawl
believe they're
are?
52 by 52 approximately.
Yeah, so I was going to bring up, you might actually have more fabric than you want for this project. We're talking a baby. A baby. I don't know, maybe it's a big baby. Maybe he's a strong wee lad, but or she, or it. But the point is, you might almost want to just do something like a table runner. If you're really talking about swaddling a little bitty baby, something that doesn't have so much voluminous fabric might actually be easier to work with. The shawl or a similar garment has the advantage of you'll still have it for years and years and years and years after, and you can get more use out of it. I do not recommend using it as a burp cloth, but I guess you could do that too. I mean, if you're talking about a special presentation like for a christening ceremony or something like that, then yeah, I think less fabric is going to be much better than more fabric if this is for presentation purposes. You know what I mean? This is the sort of thing people typically do for like a first birthday or a christening or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. And what I would say is it depends which way we suggest depends on what you want to do with the stuff later on. Absolutely. So if you said, hey, I want the a piece of cloth that is X inches wide by X inches tall, sure, we can make that. And if it happens to be about 50, like let's say it's like you were 49 by 49, cool. Order a shawl, it's 52 by 52 is close enough, and then you can use it later on for other things. Mm-hmm. If you say, no, I want something that is 36 by 36, then either A, we can, or any tailor, any company that actually makes this stuff themselves can make that for you, 1 yard by 1 yard. But it's not going to be super useful. Maybe you could use it for like a centerpiece for like a circular table or something like that. Or if you want to fold it up and use it as a keepsake for later on, or a shadow box of the baby's first
Christmas stocking
christening thing, you can make it into a Christmas stocking.
Make it into the
later
baby's
on.
Christmas stocking.
There you go.
Fun. Yeah, hell of an expensive Christmas stocking, but
very much. And if you're handy and you know how to sew and that kind of thing. But if you either have a small project for later on, or you want to just keep it as a memento of the event, then sure, get it custom made to the exact measurements you want. If you're not sure or you would use it later on for other stuff, then I'd say order a shawl is probably the safest thing, because you can fold it down or fold it up multiple ways to make it smaller to wrap around, so that you don't have a big long trail coming off the baby.
a very warm baby.
Yes, but that is a very solid point as well, is, babies create a lot of messes, coming out both ends. So whether it's not a burp cloth or it's not a diaper, so it's not machine washable in that way. You can wet wash it in a bathtub or a sink and that kind of thing.
You need to be
to
prepared
clean
for
it.
that.
But you have to be prepared that it's not, just toss it in the washing machine and be done with it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there is that consideration on this as well. But unfortunately, Bruce is one of those tartans that it's not available in PV. It's only available in wool.
Right.
So that's kind of the way I'd go with it.
Yep.
So
Agree.
cool.
Send us pictures.
Yes, indeed. Erik.
Rocky. Dr. Scott. Okay. Donald Campbell says, why are the Bonnie Prince and the Jacobites so romanticized? They were largely unsupported by the majority of the Highland clans, with some of them actually begging him to turn around and leave when he landed in Scotland. Funny, I think we talked about this in a video recently.
If only there was a video that we could insert over there somewhere. Not right now, but in post. That's fine.
If you haven't seen it, I would be very grateful if you consider watching it.
What's the title of it? Do you remember?
Jacobites.
The Cloth of the Rebellion.
Cloth of the Rebellion.
Yes,
Or
indeed.
Tartan, the Cloth of the Jacobites, something like that.
Yeah.
I get confused. But.
Ultimately we romanticize the underdogs or the losers or the people that had a cause that is either a heartfelt cause or a cause that you believe in as well, even though it's you're separated by time. So that's or someone who was crushed by a far superior enemy. That's the reason David and Goliath is such a strong story. So whether it's the Jacobites, whether it's the Irish against the English, whether it's the South and the U.S., whether it's Native Americans, all of these groups were underdogs in their own way, and that's why people romanticize it, because it's they sing songs about it. That's the reason why, is because you see a bit of yourself in it, and you always kind of you root for the little guy. You want the little guy to win, but it doesn't often happen. So I think that's the reason why we're naturally kind of drawn to underdog stories. Erik.
I would say that is the emotional undercurrent of it, for sure. That's the macro. To put on a more callous historical hat, I'll go this direction.
Damn you, callous historical hats.
Warts and all. Warts and all. First of all, let's start with the fact that not everybody in nobles is really hung up on Prince Charlie. In fact, even some people don't even want to call him the Bonnie Prince. They think that that's just too endearing. They just want to refer to him as, Prince Charles Edward Stuart. He has a mixed reputation modernly. Why was it him and why was it the Jacobites? Because, as one of my favorite Scottish presenters puts it, after Sir Walter Scott, we were all Highlanders now. This is about establishing national origin stories and nationalism as identity in the face of dealing with the poor politics, we'll put it, with the southern neighbor, okay? And you're not going to want to side with the clans or the lowlanders who were on the side of the Hanoverians, who were de facto the side of the crown located in London, if you are trying to build a story that instills pride in the people you're talking to. Enter Sir Walter Scott, and before him, the London Scottish Society, although I get their name wrong sometimes, so don't quote me on the exact name of the group. The nationalists, the new breed who came up in the late 18th century and all the way through the Regency period, who basically said, no, we've been a second-class citizen in this union for long enough. We need to reestablish Scottish pride. We need to develop an identity. And the best way to do that is to remember what was the most distinctive parts of our culture back in the day. And this led to a lot of romanticizing. It's led to fables being invented in some ways.
Or embellished.
I mean,
At
like
least embellished.
Like the Oisin poem, that those kinds of works of fiction came about as part of this also. But again, then you have the whole lost cause tragedy thing, and the fact that the culture of the Highlanders is so much more colorful and distinct than comparative other aspects of Scottish culture in the day. So that's where you get your cues to build something that feels distinct, unique, something you can be proud of, and you can point to other people and say, this is where we come from. So in that sense, the Bonnie Prince was, and for some people still is, propaganda. Okay? They knew what they were doing. I mean, when Sir Walter Scott talked about the Jacobites, wrote Waverley, and wrote Rob Roy, all these things, he knew what he was doing in terms of tapping into the emotions of the people and what they needed to hear, because it's what he wanted to hear. So that's where it comes from. That is, in a nutshell, that is why. I think there are other people in historical Scotland who I admire a lot more, frankly, personally. Your mileage may vary. Lord Murray, for one. Montrose, for another. William Wallace. All these guys get me going much more than the Bonnie Prince. So, yeah, in some ways it's kind of weird that he's the one that a lot of people point to. But again, his reputation is actually rather mixed, as opposed to the Jacobites as a whole, who are, very much the underdogs, the classic underdogs who made good and then became cannon fodder for the British Empire later. But that's a whole other rant on my part. So.
Yeah. And there's also the passage of time. So he wasn't romanticized, a few years later. He was romanticized, 50 years later. So it's one of those where it's you need that passage of time, and you need the imminent threat of the Highlanders potentially, invading England again, to be able to romanticize them. If they were still a threat, I don't think he would have been romanticized by Sir Walter Scott in the same way, but because the culture was damn near extinct, or it was being actively being tamped down for a period of time. It was like, okay, now it's time to bring it back. Now it's time to resuscitate it. There are still embers here. Let's not let the fire go out.
Right. Macroculturals will always romanticize cultures of peoples who they have conquered. Okay, I mean, this is why you get into the problems in our own country with dealing with how the macroculture has treated indigenous peoples here. And it's the same thing happened in Britain. Basically, the Highlanders were the boogeyman for centuries. They were the barbarians that literally you told your kids to be scared of, or they're going to come in the night and take you away. And then when they had won, then you turn them into the romantic warrior people who now fight for queen and country and the good of the empire. So I'm a little bit on a soapbox here, and I do apologize. But like I said, I think history needs to be examined, warts and all. And yeah.
Now
I'd read up on Montrose. If you think the Jacobites are cool, just go read up on somebody like Montrose first, okay?
The question, part of his question was, many, and I don't know how exactly I phrased it. Many of the Highlanders did not support Prince Charlie.
Correct.
What do you know? A rough, percentage?
I'm not going to claim to know the exact numbers. I know that there was basically 5 or 6 clans, branches of the MacDonald especially, who supported the prince, and it was sometimes it was religious, sometimes it was political, sometimes it was vendetta. Since the Campbells were supporters of the Hanoverians, some clans were just like, screw those guys, we're going to side with these guys because we freaking hate those guys. And then
Scots carrying a grudge never happened.
And sometimes it was religious. You had people who were Catholic and wanted to see a Catholic monarch. And you had, I think that was less of an issue than I think some people think it is. Economics was definitely an issue. But yeah, it was not the majority of the clans. But when I say the majority of clans, we're talking about dozens to hundreds, a large group of different peoples. Okay. I'm sure somebody in the comments is probably elaborating, but I know it was like the McDonald's of Kepec, I think.
The Stewarts of Appin, I know. Yeah, McFarlane's, I know.
There's like a big five who were the main supporters, the main ones who raised the fiery cross to follow the prince.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm thinking like back to my time at Culloden Battlefield. There was a lot of different clans that were represented there. So it was.
Well, I think just like in the American Civil War, you had some clans that were where the population was divided.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, okay, I'm loyal to my clan, but if I go with you guys, my farm's destroyed. I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, what about my wife and kids? You guys are nuts. This is never going to work.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
It's more complicated than,
Then we can give it justice in a short YouTube segment. Okay. Very good. All right.
Take a look. It's in a book.
It's Reading Rainbow.
Ian, give me a fun one because I was getting ornery.
Andrew the Church Piper has asked a question for all three of you. Which tartan from House of Edgar's new Genesis of Tartan Collection is your favorite?
Oh, that's a tough one for me now.
It's not for me.
My opinion changed in the process of recording the video, actually. Yeah, go ahead.
For me, it's Culloden. It's right up my alley, color palette wise. I love the jacket. I love Peter's story about finding the jacket, in the wild, so to speak, at the museum. So that one specifically speaks to me, and aesthetically, it speaks to me as well.
Okay.
I don't, as much as some of the tartans that I've been designing are a bit busy. I do like some simpler or moderately intricate tartans, and I think that's one of those that it splits the difference. It's not too crazy with too many color changeovers, but it's not too simple like a Wallace or something with a very, very blocky, square kind of design.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Erik.
I actually am starting to kind of like Royal Company of Archers.
Okay.
I never thought I would like something that busy and crazy, but there's something to it. It's kind of like, it's kind of cool. It's got a vibe to it that I like. Realistically, if I were going to plunk down money, and probably happen, I'd probably go with the unnamed tartan, which is like what, 171, 172?
Yes.
I always forget the number now because I think it's
171.
I wrote the script, but yeah. But the unnamed tartan is cool. And it's a very positive spin on the story too, because it points to the success of the revival. So I think it's really neat from that standpoint. And it's Wilson's of Bannockburn, which is a huge part of the story of tartan also. So based on all those things, I kind of like that one. But,
okay. Ian.
But Royal Company, man, I don't know, something about it. There's something about it. And I am an archer.
I can't get behind you with that one. That is like a 19.5-inch set. I'm
know,
so thankful
It's
that I'm
15
not...
and a half, I think.
15 and a half?
Yeah.
It's going to be
which
me
Mac
and Mac
is still scared about.
Yeah. So that's rough. I'm glad I'm not, daily production kilt maker anymore and have to deal with that. This one isn't new for the collection, but it did get lumped in with the collection. I'm going with the Glen Affric, the one that kicked off this whole, the success of Glen Affric certainly kicked off
Glen
interest
Affric is
in these other things, and it's my colors.
Some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah,
you know
and that's
I mean?
fair.
Yeah,
it's very unconventional shades for Scottish tartan, and that's part of what draws me to it. And I do like that mustardy color. I like that rusty color. I had a soccer jersey from when I played soccer in high school that is almost those exact colors, so it speaks to me.
I think it's funny that it's like the oldest truly Scottish tartan we have a record for now, and yet it feels very modern.
It does feel modern. It's
kind of weird how that nothing is new under the sun.
Yeah.
So
everything old is new again.
Everything old is new again. Yeah.
Indeed. Ian, any quotes of wisdom you want to spit at us?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, you're just not that wise.
Buy low, sell high.
Yeah.
The oxen is slow, the earth is patient.
Don't tell the elf.
He's going to tell Santa.
Oh, man. Oh, that's a throwback.
I'll tell Santa. Now we have to find that clip and put that in here.
That hurt.
I saw that. I can tell Santa.
Yes.
I'm going to tell Santa.
All right. We were all there for that, though. That was adorable. All right. Next one.
Okay, Lamp Waters asked, did either of you wear kilts growing up? Do your parents wear kilts? What made you love it so much that you opened your own shop?
So
I didn't open the shop. You opened the shop.
that's true.
I just work here.
Yes. So how did we come to it? I came to wearing the kilt as an extension kind of individuality and just a love of the culture. So through listening to music that inspired me, whether it's Irish music, Scottish music, that kind of stuff, or oi music or punk music for other British influenced styles there. So all of that, kind of was ingrained in me because that was kind of my musical tastes way back when, high school, middle school kind of thing. And really wanting to do something that is unconventional. So it's the punk rock kind of attitude of, I'm going to buck the norms. I'm not going to do the thing that everyone wants me to do. I'm going to do what I want. And the kilt kind of embodies that in a single garment. So that's kind of how I came to it, and just kind of like that thing is like, it's so punk rock, but it's not punk rock, but it's punk as F. I'll censor myself there.
Yep.
So that was kind of the spark that led me to it. That said, like, yeah, that's something I need to try out. That's something I need to do. And then once I got a kilt, once I started wearing a kilt, I was just like, oh, this really is unconventional. Oh, people really are looking at me. And then, wow, people are actually talking to me now. It's not like the thing where people look at you doing something different and they shy away from you because you look weird and different. It's, you look weird and different, but I want to talk to you, which is, it's a very different experience. So it was just fun. And then from that, getting into, again, the music, and then getting into researching the culture and diving in with both feet. I came at it from a very unconventional angle, but that's kind of how I came to it. So, Erik, how did you come to it?
It's weird because we have kind of a parallelism there, but not quite the same. I'm a broken record with this, but essentially, I do have Scottish ancestry, but I was never interested in the heritage, that side of my heritage, to be honest. What drew me to kilts initially was utilikilts. And again, the whole wanting to be a rebel, wanting to be an individual, and also the primal vibe of it. And frankly, because I'm a practicing pagan, the sense of being more naturalistic and not confined by the not the mores, but the conventions of modern industrial society, and just like kills to me are like, yeah, this is like legit, man. This is something that goes back thousands of years, and zippers are the man, keeping you down. So, gotcha. No, seriously though, it was basically about my path into a more naturalistic way of thinking, and I thought they looked freaking badass, And then I realized I was following a modern fashion trend with the utility kilts, and I was like, this is not where this really is. And I started researching the history, started to touch on my own heritage, and I was like, okay, traditional kilts are far more interesting and cooler. And then I got into the domino effect of getting me where I am now. Yeah. So, but we both had that primal kind of reaction to society that we wanted to be different from the normies. You know what I mean? So that's where we,
I think we've succeeded.
Yeah. And employed in the process. Yes.
Yeah.
But
Ian, how did you come into kilt wearing?
I'm surprised I didn't come around to it sooner, because I certainly grew up. I do have both Scottish and Irish ancestry, among other things.
Yep.
We went to Celtic Classic every year when I was a kid. My mom always had music on, like Seamus Kennedy and other Irish trad acts. So I was always around Celtic stuff, and it never occurred to me to put on a kilt for a very long time. And I also have that same, urge of like buck the normies kind of thing going on, especially in high school, but I didn't even come to kilts that way. I was really excited when I found things like Dropkick Murphys and later Flogging Molly that allowed me to,
Right.
express that punk rock thing I was interested in, but also like kind of like that annoying stuff my mom's into. Like, it's combining them, it's cool. And it still didn't come around to Kilt even as I discovered those bands. Honestly, it was right after college when I got engaged and we started talking about a wedding. Then I'm like, you know what, kilts could be a fun way to do something a little weird and a little different. And that was my in. And then of course, once you put a kilt on, it's awesome, and you want to do it again.
Right.
So it's not even just that you start wearing it once a year. You start looking for more reasons to wear it, and it snowballed. And now you guys are stuck with me.
But your story speaks to the thing that I say, generally speaking, is when I'm speaking to parents, like getting the kids involved young. You don't know if the things that you are saying, the lessons you are imparting on your children, the family heritage, the family history, where you come from, you don't know if any of that is sticking when you're actually giving it to them. All you can do is just keep throwing it out there and keep making sure you're exposing them to their heritage. And then at some point, you recognize that it actually took root. Like talking about Ian's story, in his mid-20s, like it was always there, it was always in the background, and then all of a sudden he had that, wait a minute, this could actually be neat. And then he's jumped in with both feet. So you never know what your kids are absorbing, what they're listening to, and what they're internalizing. You hope it's the good stuff.
Right.
But it's a lot of kids in their mid-20s, that's when it seems to kind of, the cement mixture hardens. That's when it kind of hits and they go like, oh, I get it now. Like it's either when they start recognizing their parents are getting older, when they start looking to get married, when they start looking backwards and they're out of that, I'll be a jerk and say like the more self-centered section of their brains, and they start looking outwards for other things and say like, oh, wow, these are other things that are kind of cool, and this all like speaks to my heritage. So yeah, I think that generally happens for people in their 20s.
Oh, yeah, I got that. For me, it was like picking up the clues that were there from my family after the fact. Because like I look back on it now, and it's like my dad was never into kilts, but he was definitely into the music. He was definitely into the history. He recited the Selkirk Grace every time we had a family meal. My mom was much more into her English ancestry, but I found out early on from her about my Stuart connection. So it was there, but it was like bits and bobs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And some people, to your speaking to your dad, don't, jump the shark, so to speak, and get into the kilts themselves. Or it's too much outside of the norm of what people would expect
totally different
from
generation
it.
too.
Yes,
Totally
there's that as well.
generation.
But it's cool to make sure that the seeds of the thistle lie fallow for other people to pick up at some point. Paraphrasing a speech I once heard. Yes.
That was a good speech.
Oh yeah. If only other people would do it right before you do it.
Don't give me.
Erik did a speech. It was a spectacular speech, and he ended up turning it into a blog post because the event that we were going to do it for
got canceled
for 2020, and then we went back to do the thing. The guy who spoke before Erik apparently read our blog post.
He read my blog, and you turned my blog into his speech, so his speech wound up being almost exactly like my speech, and I had to go on after him to recite my speech, and I could have choked at the freaking guy. Except he's a minister, so I wouldn't do that. But
yeah,
I'm just like, really, dude?
So, all right.
I love what you said. What were your resources for that?
Yes. Would you mind citing any of your... You walk up to the mic, ditto, and walk away.
I almost did. That was kind of my joke. I think I started off with that, but
yes.
Anyway.
All right.
Good times.
Ian, was that you or was that Erik? That was Erik.
That was
Ian.
That was Erik. Okay, I'm totally ready.
We're rambling like crazy. Sorry, guys.
William Marshall. He wants to know, how common is it to wear pocket squares with tweed or Argyle Highland coats?
Not very, but there's nothing wrong with it. I recommend it. It's fun. Just don't do a tartan pocket square, in my opinion. Or let me put it this way. Don't do a tartan tie, tartan pocket square, tartan kilt. Have some simplicity in there somewhere. I'd rather have a two-color or monocolor pocket silk, or honestly, if you're going to be omni about this, an actual handkerchief that you take the time to fold properly, because pocket silks are a later affectation for people who are just too lazy to actually fold a handkerchief, and they want something glitzy, okay? So I would actually consider doing it that way. I have done it that way. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to try and have a tartan one, wear a solid color tie or a club tie, or vice versa, Am I making sense?
Yes,
I just dove right in there to that one, but
I was gonna say the last thing there. If I'm a fan of a little bit more subtlety and simplicity in the outfit, outside of tattersall shirts, which aren't very subtle. If I was gonna wear a black jacket and I was going to have a necktie on and I'm gonna be wearing a kilt, then I would probably wear and I wanted to wear a pocket square, I would probably go with a tartan pocket square and a solid color tie. I would rather do that than the opposite. I would rather do that than a tartan necktie and a solid pocket square. So that's kind of what I think I would do. Or I'm not a pocket square guy, so I don't know if would you wear
only very special occasions.
Would you if I'm wearing an American Dream kilt? Would I wear and I had a maroon tie that matched this dead on and a maroon pocket square? Would that be too much to wear that and that?
There's nothing wrong with it. My opinion would be that if you're since you've got two prominent colors in that particular tartan, I would do the maroon for the tie and then pick up a blue
navy
for the pocket square.
Okay.
And honestly, against black, that's not going to work very well. But if you're doing a tweed, I think that could be great. And I tend to think of this in terms of something that goes with tweeds, not blacks like an argyle or something like that, really.
Okay.
So yeah, I basically balance it out. If you're going to get really fogish about it, I guess I'd like a club tie. I don't think enough guys wear club ties except for my allies over on the Tried Kilters group. Club ties are really cool and very timeless old fogey style. And then a solid color, just a bit of a pop of a pocket square could be good. So.
Yeah. Agreed. I wouldn't wear a club tie with a tartan pocket square.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
No.
So just putting that on the table, clarifying. Cool. Hope that helped. All right, Erik.
Okay. All right. Joe Knox. Okay, we're going from one end of the fashion spectrum to the other.
Clown shoes. Oh,
Not
no.
quite,
Okay.
but just
am I that
don't
far
drink.
off?
Don't drink.
Okay.
Just
I won't spit out my whiskey.
right. No spit takes. Joe Knox asked us, can you wear a utility kilt as part of a heritage outfit? How much can you dress up a cargo kilt? Because my sister is getting married, and I'm wondering if a black utility kilt would look okay with a tux shirt and a tie. He wants to wear a black utility kilt with tuxedo accessories to a wedding.
Okay.
Can you actually dress up a utility kilt?
Okay. Can you dress up a utility kilt? I would say yes.
What? Okay.
But minimal pockets. So if it's cargo pockets, like saddlebag, side pockets, no. If it's now I'll talk about utilikilt brand because I know them. So if it's their mocker, which does not have any external pockets, just the slash pockets.
Do they still make the mocker?
I don't know because I don't know their brand that well.
That's a problem.
Okay, well, don't care.
Now, some other utility kilts have pockets you can snap off. You can remove the pockets. So go ahead.
Yeah, but that's the survival, but you're still left with the flap part on the top.
I think some of the other brands do that too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If there's no
Continue.
cargo pockets, think of a utility kilt just like a pair of cargo pants. If there's side pockets, no. Can you dress up cargo pants to wear with a tuxedo? No. Anyone who tells you can is either drunk or wrong, or both.
Or they're lying because they want you to look like a fool.
Indeed. So no. Now, if it is a mocker or a more simplistic style, where there's, there's just slash pockets, I think you could do it esque. Is it representing your heritage? No, it's not. Like, utility kilts are not representing heritage. Utility kilts, according to, Crash, are there as an alternative to Scottish kilts. They
Crash
are there.
is the guy who founded Kilts, for those who don't know.
It is for, a fun countercultural way to express yourself. So I don't think that it is maybe it's a nod to heritage in the fact that it is a kilt, but it is not a tartan kilt. So I'm not going to say it's expressing your heritage. If it's a solid black slash pocket utility kilt, and I would say maybe you wear it with kilt hose and flashes and a pair of wingtips and a tuxedo jacket and tuxedo shirt. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it, but I could see someone doing it that way. That's the only pass
I have
give
seen
it.
people doing it. If you look on the internet, you will find people who use utility-kilts for weddings.
Yeah, and
For
I think
years.
they used to make a tuxedo model. It was like the Egyptian hem where like the pleats like went down in the
no
back.
No offense, Crash. I just didn't care for it.
But they made it.
But they did make it.
It was meant to wear with a tux
It
jacket.
had satin pinstripes that went down the sides.
Yep.
On a couple of the pleats.
Yep. So I could specific, very, 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 specific circumstances or very specific models. Yes, I can see. Erik.
I have seen people try to do a heritage vibe with a utilikilt outfit. I have a couple of photos in my archive of guys who are wearing a tartan necktie, and they're wearing a modern cargo kilt as part of the outfit, and they're having the tie do the tartaning, the tartaning talking from the tie, and the kilt is a solid cargo kilt, and they figure, okay, kilts are emblematic in their own right. They don't have to be tartan kilts, this person is expressing, but the fact that it's a kilt as opposed to pants still says something. It's a nod, but the tie is what clinches it. I really don't think you should think of a utility kilt as a heritage garment. It is not a part of Highland dress. Personal expression, sure, fine. Let's talk about the technical aspects. The pockets, you're absolutely right. I totally agree. The other problem with utility kilts is most of the time they're meant to ride lower on your body. They're not going to be as flattering on you for an outfit that's supposed to look more elegant, which usually means more streamlined.
Yeah.
Well, higher, yeah, but more streamlined. I mean, the whole reason Rocky's saying take the pockets off is because A, they look clunky. B, they disrupt the line. Okay, they can rip pockets. So, if you're going to wear the utility kilt and try to dress it up, let's forget the whole wedding idea, but just dress it up. You need a layer on top of the waist so you don't have a belly effect or an undercut effect or just like sliding down. That was the problem I always had with my utility because they just felt they went right down onto my hips and they didn't look good on me. So you're going to need a layer is my advice. And you're really going to have to lean into the other accessories in the outfit being very simple and not clashy at all. Good boots, good shoes, kilt hose, yes. Some kind of vest or other layer to cover up your midsection, and a decent shirt and tie. That's my...
Where I'm coming to the weird disconnect as well in the way that it was phrased is the tuxedo equivalent. If you're going for a little bit more casual type wedding where it's let's say the groomsmen are going to be in khaki pants, a dress shirt, and a black vest. Okay, then I think you could potentially work because you can do the tartan tie thing.
That's a casual wedding.
And you can do a utility kilt with a dress shirt and tartan tie and that kind of thing. Maybe even and kilt hose and flashes or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there's levels to play within it. But if you're specifically saying like black tie, formal tuxedo type equivalent, it's a much longer bridge to gap. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I don't want to take his question too literally because some people they'll just use
formal.
Yeah, as shorthand, or even the word tux as shorthand.
Yeah.
So there's flexibility, but I don't think you can consider a utility kilt heritage wear. You cannot consider it Highland dress.
And I wouldn't consider
Yeah.
anything with cargo pockets as formal.
Formal.
Period.
No.
I will die on that hill.
Yep. No, I'm
So-
right there with you.
Fair.
Yep.
Back to back with our swords.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good. Hope that helps. Mr. Ian.
Yes. I've got a question here from Theodore Dubois. He wants to know, how hard is it to make a kilt in a plain fabric, such as saffron?
How hard is it to
From
make
a technical
a kilt?
standpoint, yeah, you guys know.
Yeah, it depends on the solid fabric. Is that saffron or is that tweed? If it's herringbone tweed, that adds another twist to it. From a technical standpoint, if you're doing something in a solid, well, let me start the other direction. When you're making a tartan kilt, you have a distinct advantage to most articles of clothing is that you don't need a pattern. You have a grid right in front of you, right on the cloth, and you are actually pleating things to the set or to the stripe based on the grid. So you're doing everything based on the pattern that is on the fabric. If you're making a solid color kilt, you can still do it, but you have to create the grid. You have to do something so you know how far down you're going to sew the fell. You're going to need to know, where are you going to iron the pleats in. So you have to almost mark up solid color cloth to figure out exactly how you're going to make it and where you're going to sew and what you're going to sew to, what lines you're going to sew to. So solid color kilts, the reason why most companies charge a bit more, frankly speaking, for a solid color kilt or for a tweed kilt is because there's more work involved because you're doing things in a different way. So when we make a tweed kilt or solid color kilt, the first thing we do is cut it to length, and then we chalk out where the pleats are going to be, and then the next step before we sew anything is ironing in the pleats. So we actually iron in each pleat individually so that now we can just essentially stack them up. And then chalk where the bottom of the fell is, where the top of the fell is, and how you're going to sew it together. You also have, generally speaking, with a lot of solid color cloth, a hem to worry about. Ian, anything before we get to tweeds, anything for solid colors that I'm thinking of that it's just a bunch of extra marking or chalking of the cloth that you would think about?
That would be the main thing, because if you were just going to try to go at it kind of blind, sure, you might say it's kind of forgiving, it's solid. Who notices if it's a little crooked? But then the kilt will kind of not sit on your body right. It'll have weird waves to it. The pleats might not dangle in quite the right way. So yeah, you got to do the whole, it's like a drafting project.
Yeah.
And I would say it takes longer as a rule. I wouldn't say it's harder. I'm not as comfortable with it because we don't do it as often.
Yeah.
But if it was like 50-50 tartan versus solids, I'd say it's probably a little easier, but probably does take a little bit longer.
Yeah. And you're doing things out of order.
Yeah.
So as a kilt maker, you're not reinventing the wheel, but it takes more thought and
Yeah.
more concentration because it's not the same thing you always do.
Partially just because we don't do it very often. I'm sure if we did it very
Yeah.
often, it wouldn't feel so. But yeah, you got to stop and pause. Like, okay, normally go to this step, but oh crap, I can't do that. I gotta pause and think about. So you have to kind of rethink your whole process every time a little bit.
Yep. And if you're doing a herringbone tweed, or even really a window pane tweed, depending on how vertical and horizontal stripes are on it, you have to worry about the direction that the stripes go or that the herringbone pattern goes. So when you're weaving cloth, you have, the long section is the warp, and the stuff that goes, vertical, the shorter direction, is the weft. In most industries, when you cut out a pattern as a tailor, you're cutting it out sideways on the cloth, so you're going down the warp. In a kilt, you're not. You're going, the other direction. So the long way is the long way, and you're cutting it 90 degrees from essentially every other industry. The problem is the herringbone pattern, the little V's that you have on a herringbone. If you think of like a pinstripe suit that has herringbone pattern, they don't run this way on the cloth. They actually run that way. So if you make the kilt normal, so you're using the bottom edge for the bottom edge of the kilt, then you have the horizontal stripes or the herringbone pattern goes across the kilt, not vertical on the kilt. So how you get around that when you're dealing with a tweed fabric that has a herringbone pattern is you actually take the kilt or take the fabric and you cut it into chunks and then turn them 90 degrees, splice them together, and then hem the entire bottom. So it is a lot more involved in the process of making a solid color kilt or a tweed kilt with a herringbone pattern. Any thoughts on that?
And even some solid color materials in worsted wool that don't have a herringbone, that don't have a window pane, are also made without the type of tuck selvage you want to see on a kilt because they don't expect folks to use it for a kilt. So sometimes you still have to have a hem, even if you are doing it more or less otherwise the traditional way.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of things that the end user doesn't, or the end wearer doesn't think about that goes into the process of making a kilt. So it's one of the things that's it's fun and challenging at the same time. Yes, indeed. All right.
I have one question.
Sure.
I'm curious to know in the comments who out there would consider wearing a solid color kilt and why. I've had it in my head lately that I think it'd be cool to see a few more Irish guys wearing blue kilts because that was the original color for St. Patrick. And it's kind of a lost piece of the culture in a sense, the nationalist movement at least. I think it'd be interesting to know if you were going to wear a solid color kilt, what color would you choose, and would it just be your favorite color, or would it be for a reason, like a symbolic reason? Just curious.
Ian.
We're working with a pipe band in Ireland who is doing exactly that. They're getting blue
Get out of
kilts,
town.
And initially we explored doing a custom run to like hit the exact Pantone shade of like St. Patrick's blue. Now we ended up going with a bit of a stock color option, but yeah, that's the thing.
Can you get me in touch with them?
Yeah, definitely.
That is so freaking cool.
They should be receiving their kilts next week.
I had no
Their first
clue
batch
that was
from
happening.
us.
Ian, you should tell me these things.
Also,
There's a story there. That's awesome.
Also, maybe we should have had Mac
Props
on
to
the
them.
show today, because didn't Mac wear a solid black kilt for his wedding?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've worn them too. But
Yeah. And not a utility style kilt to the.
Yeah.
oh, Ian, that
Was
does my
his
heart
a-
good.
Was his a shadow tartan? Do you
I
remember?
I think it
think
might
so.
have.
I think
Well,
it
maybe
was
it was
solid
solid.
black.
Mine was shadow.
I could be mistaken though.
Okay.
If only.
If only we could
If
ask
only
him.
he was in the
Yes.
building.
If only he weren't gone. Bless him.
It's
He's
this.
gone from the building. He's not there today. All right. So,
question of the day.
question of the day. Let's bring in some.
didn't
let's bring that
forget.
back up. I know. Look
Good
at
for
me
you.
remembering things. Adam, if you would, please bring up the little graphic there. And Ian, if you could,
Bloop.
give us some of the answers for said question of the day. What zoomorphic animal would you like to see as a kilt accessory?
We got a lot of answers to this question, more than I've seen for a question of the day on episodes that I've been on, at least. We had, I'd say the top 3 or 4 were owl. A lot of comments for owl.
Interesting. Interesting.
Highland cow, stag, badger, river otter. That was 5. I know I said 3 or 4. But river
None
otter
of
got
the
a
ones we
lot of
mentioned?
comments.
Badger.
Yeah, and a lot
down
of people
for
were giving
badger.
facts about badgers being the 4th largest mammal native to Scotland or something. I don't remember all the facts, but there was a bunch of people just sharing badger facts.
They have. Go ahead.
Yeah, some other ones we got a lot of comments for were bears, eagles. Did I say Highland coo already?
Yep.
Unicorn we got a lot.
Okay.
Elk had a surprisingly high number of responses as well.
Okay.
But I've got like tons more answers. I could
Did you
share.
get numbers?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I wasn't.
I'm
tracking
what
it.
else? What else? I'm really curious.
So Scottish Wildcat had multiple mentions.
I thought about that one earlier.
Somebody wanted red panda, naked mole rat, water buffalo, honey badger, dragons. Somebody specifically said wolf riding a raven. I wasn't sure if somebody's just trying to be silly or if this is a reference to like a specific mythological event of
a
some
wolf
kind.
riding a raven.
Yeah, seemed odd to me. Maybe
Sounds
it's
more like somebody's furry fantasy to me. But
bison, beaver, penguin, stick bug,
okay, we're good.
balrog.
Really
Somebody
off
really
the-
wanted octopus or squid, trout, salmon, Nessie. This one's pretty specific. Pictish wolf of Ardros.
Okay.
Falcon, horse, and Welsh corgi.
Very good.
No wombats.
I didn't see anything about wombats.
No
love-
puffins.
I
Maybe
love
that fella
puffins.
from Melbourne will
I
pipe
want
up
you all
with
to
that.
recognize the fact that owls are a harbinger of doom and death in Celtic culture, so you might want to be careful with that one.
Sounds
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
But yeah,
Yes, indeed. All right. So let us know, if you haven't commented already, what animal would you like to see as a zoomorphic kilt accessory? Very good. Thank you, boys and girls, for joining us. Until next time, Slàinte mhath. Hey, thanks for joining us today, guys. Remember, if you want bite-sized, little tiny nuggets of Celtic content, we have an entire other channel called the Kilts and Culture Clips channel. You can see that by clicking on that link over there. We would love it if you would subscribe.